Welcome to the Vibes Lab, your front row seat to the science behind VIA, the Vibes AI agentic platform making everyday brain health accessible to all. Every episode is designed to reveal insights that will enhance your cognitive health and well-being. Follow us to grab your lab key and experience limitless intelligence.
Imagine stepping on a scale and finding out that caring for your sick parent or, working those grueling nursing shifts just aged your cells by 17 years.
Yeah, that sounds like a metaphor, right? Like something you'd just say to exaggerate how tired you are.
Exactly. But it isn't a metaphor. According to the stack of research we're looking at today, that is the literal biological toll of chronic caregiving.
It's honestly a massive oversight in how we treat this topic. I mean, people love to praise caregivers for having a big heart.
Oh, definitely. Or carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders.
Right. But they rarely talk about the physical breakdown happening inside your body while you try to hold it together for everyone else.
And, maybe more importantly, nobody is showing you how to actually repair that damage, which is why today's deep dive is so vital.
Yeah, we tend to treat caregiving as just this purely emotional experience,
Like if you feel overwhelmed, society just tells you to, take a bubble bath?
Pretty much. Or practice some generic self-care, as if a temporary change in your mood is somehow going to fix a cellular injury.
Which is wild. So today we are moving past that fluffy advice. We are looking at an incredibly fascinating core document called the Sonic Remedy for Caregiver Stress, along with a whole stack of clinical trials and fMRI scans.
Yeah, the science in here is just, it's groundbreaking.
It really is. And if you are listening to this right now and you're a caregiver in any capacity, our mission today is to unpack the hard biological science of how that act takes a toll on your cells. And crucially, how sound and vibration can physically rewire your nervous system for healing.
And, for anyone listening who is just feeling completely exhausted by the very idea of adding some new healing routine to an already massive to-do list, just take a breath.
Yeah, because we are not giving you another chore.
Exactly. The goal today is passive restoration. These are scientifically backed tools that literally do the heavy lifting for your biology.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because before we can understand how sound heals the body, we really have to understand exactly what is breaking down in the first place, right?
Right. We have to look at the strict biological reality. The source documents make a really stark point about stopping the use of emotional buzzwords like burnout.
Yeah, burnout makes it sound like you just need a weekend off to sleep in.
Exactly. But the reality is so much more profound. The text highlights this landmark meta-analysis from the Psychological Bulletin by Vitaliano and his colleagues.
And their findings were pretty shocking, right?
Very. When they compared caregivers to non-caregivers, the caregiving group was operating with 23% higher stress hormone levels on average.
23%. That's not just a bad day.
No, that is a systemic, chronic flooding of chemicals that human bodies only evolved to experience in very brief, life-threatening bursts.
And it gets even more intense.
Yeah.
Because there's another study from the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences by Eppel and her team.
Ah, yes, the telomere study.
Right. They looked at high-stress caregivers and found cellular aging equivalent to 9 to 17 additional years. But maybe clarify for everyone how they actually measured that, because it's not just a guess based on wrinkles or something.
Oh, no, it's very precise. They looked at telomeres. Think of telomeres like the little plastic tips at the end of your shoelaces that keep the lace from fraying.
Okay, I love that analogy.
Yeah, so they're these protective caps at the end of your DNA strands, and every time your cells divide, those caps get a tiny bit shorter. It's basically the biological clock of human aging.
So what did Appel's team actually find out about the caregivers?
They discovered that the chronic psychological stress of caregiving accelerates that shortening process dramatically. The stress is literally eroding those protective caps on your DNA.
Wow, which completely explains the 17 years of accelerated aging.
Exactly. And to understand how the body gets pushed to that extreme, the research points to the HPA axis. That's the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis.
Which is essentially the body's central command system for stress.
Yeah, right. Yes. And in a healthy, regulated nervous system, that axis operates on a very clear rhythm. You get a sharp spike of cortisol at dawn.
Which wakes you up and gets you out of bed.
Right. Gives you focus. And then it gradually declines throughout the afternoon and evening, so you can actually drop into restorative sleep.
But the data shows that in caregivers, that rhythm just breaks.
It does. Instead of a healthy spike and decline, it turns into this flattened pattern.
Is this essentially like a car alarm that gets tripped and just never turns off, eventually draining the entire battery?
That mechanical analogy works perfectly. What's fascinating here is why that flattened pattern is so devastating to your health over time.
Because the alarm is just blaring day after day.
Right. Your sympathetic nervous system, your fight or flight response, is locked in overdrive. And when your brain believes you are in constant mortal danger, it actively diverts resources away from long-term projects.
Like digesting lunch or fighting a cold.
Exactly. If you're running from a predator, your body does not care about digesting your food or fighting off a mild respiratory virus or repairing frayed telomeres. It dumps every ounce of energy into pure survival.
So when fight or flight becomes your daily baseline, your metabolic, cardiovascular, and immune systems just quietly begin to break down.
It's a physiological state of siege.
Which makes it completely clear why you need more than just a nap to fix it. I mean, you deserve actual structural restoration. So how do we turn that stuck alarm off?
Well, this logically leads us into the core of our source material. We have to shift away from the idea of sound as just, music or art and start looking at sound as a physical, biological intervention.
I think we really have to reframe what sound even is.
We do. It is not just something experienced objectively in our ears. Sound is a physical force. It's a mechanical wave of pressure moving through the air.
And when those pressure waves hit your body, they interact with your biology. They can actually reorganize it.
Yes. And the numbers in the stack of sources are staggering on this point. There's a 2020 systematic review by DeWitt and colleagues that looked at 104 randomized controlled trials.
Wait, so we're talking about nearly 10,000 participants across these studies.
Yes, a massive data pool.
Yeah.
And they found that music interventions produce significant measurable reductions in cortisol, heart rate, and blood pressure.
Okay, wait, I have to push back on one detail here just to clarify. The data is actually showing that just listening to slow music has an anxiety-reducing effect size comparable to pharmaceutical anxiety medication.
Yes, comparable to drugs, but with zero side effects.
But how? How is the body mechanically knowing to do that without a chemical drug forcing it?
It comes down to a fundamental law of physics and biology called entrainment. It's the tendency of two interacting oscillating systems to synchronize.
So your body naturally wants to lock into external rhythms.
Exactly. If you expose your nervous system to a steady, slow-tempo track, specifically around 60 beats per minute, your internal rhythms literally begin to mirror that external physical wave.
So it's actively pulling your heart rate down to match the baseline of the audio. That is wild.
It is. And a fascinating study in the British Heart Journal by Bernardi proved this is actually dose-dependent. The slower the musical tempo, the greater your autonomic nervous system shifts away from that sympathetic fight-or-flight overdrive.
And it drops down into parasympathetic rest and repair.
Right. Your breathing deepens automatically, your heart rate slows. Sound is essentially the body's mother tongue. Your nervous system doesn't need to be taught how to relax.
It just needs the correct rhythmic invitation to force the shift.
Precisely. And that shift goes way beyond just feeling calm in the moment. It physically alters your immune landscape.
Yeah, there's that massive review from Brain, Behavior, and Immunity by Fancourt showing that music significantly reduces pro-inflammatory cytokines.
Which are the alarm bell proteins that cause widespread inflammation when you're stressed.
And simultaneously, the music actively increases immunoglobulin A, which, what is that exactly?
Immunoglobulin A is your body's frontline mucosal immune defense. It lives in your respiratory and gastrointestinal tracts. When caregivers are depleted, that frontline defense drops, which is exactly why they get sick so often.
So boosting that specific antibody without needing a supplement, simply by introducing physical sound waves into the room, I mean, that is a profound intervention.
It is quite literally medicine, and it works immediately. The text cites a 2017 study by Goldsby on singing bowl meditations.
Oh, right, the one with first-time participants.
Yeah. People who had never done any sort of sound therapy before experienced dramatic, immediate reductions in tension. You don't have to practice for a decade on a mountain to get the benefit. Your
biology is just wired to receive it instantly. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because if music at 60 beats per minute is like a broad spectrum intervention for your heart rate, specific audio frequencies act more like a surgical laser.
Right, we're moving from the cardiovascular response to the beat directly into the brain's electrical response to specific hertz levels.
So to understand this, we need a quick primer on brain waves, right?
Yeah. Your brain is a dense network of electrical activity. And depending on your state of consciousness, it produces oscillating waves at different frequencies.
So when you are alert or stressed or problem solving, you produce faster waves.
Those are beta waves. But when you relax, you drop into slower alpha waves, which sit around 8 to 12 hertz.
And then there's the really deep stuff.
Exactly. When you enter deep restorative meditation or light sleep, you drop further into theta waves, around 4 to 8 hertz.
I hear people talk about binaural beats all the time in relation to this. And to be honest, I always assumed it was just some new age placebo. Are you saying there is actual hard clinical data proving this changes the brain's electrical output?
Oh, there's absolutely hard data.
Wait, before we even get to the data, what actually a binaural beat? If I just listen to a steady hum on a speaker, is that the same thing?
No, a steady hum is just a single tone. A binaural beat is actually an auditory illusion created inside your brain, which is why you have to wear stereo headphones for it to work.
Oh, okay. So headphones are mandatory.
Yes. You play one specific frequency into the left ear, let's say 400 hertz. Then you play a slightly different frequency into the right ear, let's say 406 hertz.
And the brain processes both.
Your brain processes both tones and creates a third phantom beat out of the mathematical difference between the two. So in this case, a 6 hertz beat.
And 6 hertz puts you right square in that restorative theta wave category.
Precisely. And this triggers a mechanism that Schwartz and Taylor call the frequency following response.
Which means what exactly?
When your brain hears that 6 hertz rhythmic stimulation, your own neural oscillations physically synchronize to match it. Your brain literally follows the pace of the frequency it is being fed.
So instead of relying on sheer willpower to try and quiet your mind after a 12-hour shift, binaural beats act like a pace car on a racetrack, forcing your brain waves to slow down and follow it.
It bypasses willpower entirely, which is a massive relief for caregivers who feel like they just can't meditate.
Yes, so many people sit down, close their eyes, get completely overwhelmed by their racing thoughts, and feel like they've failed.
But what the clinical data says is you don't need willpower. Just let the frequency do the work. In a 2017 study by Jirikatayakorn, researchers found that just 30 minutes of listening to a 6 hertz binaural beat created the exact neural signature of deep meditation.
Like it structurally altered the brain scan.
Yes. Specifically, it induced frontal midline theta activity.
30 minutes to force the brain state of deep meditation just by putting on headphones. That is incredible. And the clinical applications really back it up.
They do. A study by Padmanabhan showed a 26% reduction in preoperative anxiety for patients using binaural beats.
And there was another study by Gatt that looked at military service members dealing with extreme deployment stress. The binaural beats significantly improved their heart rate variability.
And heart rate variability is a vital metric. High variability means your nervous system is incredibly resilient, and you can seamlessly shift between action and rest.
So for those service members, improving that metric meant their parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, was finally turning back on.
You are essentially feeding your brain the acoustic frequency of safety.
Okay, so headphones and 60 beat per minute tracks are great if you're, winding down in bed. But what if you're in the middle of a screaming ICU ward? Or you're driving your parent to a medical appointment and your stress is just spiking?
Right. You can't exactly put on a 30-minute ambient soundscape.
Exactly. But the sources highlight a built-in sound healing mechanism that you carry with you at all times, your own voice, specifically interacting with the vagus nerve.
The vagus nerve is the absolute star of the parasympathetic nervous system. It is the longest cranial nerve in the human body.
It goes everywhere, right?
It wanders all the way from your brainstem, down through your throat, wraps around your heart, your lungs, and plunges deep into your gut. It's a bidirectional superhighway that tells your internal organs the threat has passed. You are safe.
The most mind-blowing detail from the text for me is that the vagus nerve responds directly to physical vibration.
Yes.
There is this fascinating fMRI study by Kalyani. They put participants in a brain scanner and had them chant, "Ooh."
And the scanning showed that the chanting physically deactivated the amygdala,
which is the brain's fear and threat center.
Right. And it did this utilizing the vagus nerve pathways. But the really brilliant part is they ran a control group that just made a continuous sound.
And the sound did not deactivate the fear center. So wait, it's not the deep breathing and it's not the focused intention or a placebo. It is the actual physical vibration in the vocal cords massaging that nerve.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, It changes how we view human vocalization entirely. Making that sound is mostly unvoiced. It uses air, but your vocal cords aren't heavily vibrating. But when you hum or chant, that intense vibration in your larynx acts as a deep tissue massage for the vagus nerve passing right next to it. Our voice isn't just an evolutionary tool for communicating with others.
It is an internal tuning instrument designed to regulate our own organs.
Exactly.
And the secondary chemical effects of that throat vibration are just wild.
Okay.
The text cites research by Weitzberg and Lundberg showing that simple humming boosts nasal nitric oxide production by 1,500%.
That number is incredible, isn't it?
Wait, 1,500%? I mean, what is nitric oxide actually doing in my body that makes a massive spike like that so important?
Nitric oxide is a powerhouse molecule for human health, primarily because it acts as a vasodilator. That means it relaxes the inner muscles of your blood vessels, causing the vessels to widen.
Oh, so it opens everything up.
Right. When your blood vessels expand, your blood pressure drops, circulation improves, and more oxygen gets delivered to your exhausted cells. It also plays a massive role in cellular communication and immune defense.
Generating a 1,500% spike in a vasodilator just by vibrating your vocal cords for a few minutes. I mean, there's an incredibly efficient biological hack.
It's astonishing, and the sources show it even scales up socially.
Oh yeah, the Vygoff study in Frontiers in Psychology, they looked at group singing.
Yes, when people sing together at slow tempos, naturally regulating their breathing to about 6 breaths per minute, the heart rates of everyone in the room physically synchronize.
It maximizes vagal tone across the entire group. It's communal, biological regulation through sound waves.
It proves that we are biologically porous. We leak our physiological states to one another, and we can actually regulate one another through shared rhythm and sound.
So what does this all mean? I mean, we've built an airtight scientific case for sound therapy. We know the biological car alarm is stuck on eroding your telomeres and draining your system.
And we know that sound waves, entrainment, and physical vibrations are the mechanical tools to turn it off.
Right. So how do we translate these clinical studies into an immediate, actionable routine for you today? The stack of sources distills this into 3 highly accessible practices.
This is where the clinical theory becomes your daily lifeline. As the text beautifully points out, you cannot pour from a shattered vessel. Depletion has a literal physical remedy, and your body is just waiting for the mechanical signal to begin repairing itself.
So here's the action plan. Practice number 1. Hum for 2 minutes. That's it.
Just 2 minutes.
If you are hiding in the bathroom during a terrible shift or sitting in your parked car before going into the house, close your eyes, breathe in through your nose, and on the exhale, hum at a comfortable pitch.
You will literally feel the vibration in your chest and throat.
And in just 120 seconds, you're mechanically massaging your vagus nerve, flooding your bloodstream with nitric oxide to lower your blood pressure, and telling your brain's fear center to shut down. 0 cost.
Practice number 2. Listen to 60 beat per minute music before you sleep. You want instrumental tracks like classical adagios, singing bowls, or ambient soundscapes.
And you just put it on for 20 minutes as you wind down in bed. Right?
Exactly. But the key here is do not put effort into trying to relax.
Right. No willpower.
Let the physics of entrainment take over. Just allow your heart rate and your breathing to passively synchronize to the tempo of the audio.
And finally, practice number 3. Use a binaural beats track. Just remember, you will need stereo headphones for the auditory illusion to work in your brain.
Find a track in the theta or alpha range and set a timer for 15 to 30 minutes.
And again, the instruction here is almost an anti-instruction. Do not try to meditate. Let the frequency following response do the heavy lifting. The text even points to a specific resource you can use to start, called the Vibe Drop Maternal Calm Caregiver Reset Restorative Audio.
We really have to stop viewing these practices as luxuries or, simple escapes. They are profound acts of biological repair. When you have spent years holding space and holding the weight of the world for others, you must eventually allow sound to hold space for you.
I love that. You are not broken. You are just profoundly depleted. And the hard science shows us that sound is the structural remedy for that depletion. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. I hope understanding the biological reality of your stress helps validate the exhaustion you've been feeling.
It is so real.
It is. And more importantly, I hope these tools give you a real, effortless way to invite restoration back into your cells. You give so much, it is time to let the sound give back to you.
This raises an important question to leave you with, though, one that really builds on everything we've uncovered today.
All to that.
Well, the text notes that every frequency you encounter either amplifies stress or invites coherence. So if intentional rhythmic sound has the measurable power to add years back to our cellular life and immediately shut down our fear centers, what is the constant unintentional noise of our modern world? The traffic, the buzzing appliances, the pinging notifications passively doing to our nervous systems without us even realizing it. We now know we can tune our bodies toward healing, but what frequencies are we passively letting tune us towards stress?